going to end with this. City of Crowns for Paladins of the West Kingdom. This is a juicy expansion here. I really like the basic game, of course. It is in my top 10 games of all time. I believe it's still in the top 10, if not the top 20. No, it's definitely in the top 10. And so this is a review that I thought I did. Mike and I and Wendy have played this expansion together. Mike and I thought that we filmed an expansion review of it. We didn't. It's one of those Mandela effect kind of moments where we could have sworn that we did it. We scrubbed up and down the channel looking for it. We never did it. I don't know why. I apologize to Garfield Games. This review is like a year overdue. I really like the City of Crowns expansion. The Paladins of the West Kingdom is one of those smooth games. I hadn't played it in a while. I pulled it out, set it on the table, and I thought, I know all the rules. Like, I know all of them. It's just that smooth and great of a game. This expansion does introduce a few more wrinkles to it. There's a little more setup. That middle area of the board is even a little bit longer. It has got a big, long board right across the middle there. It adds a few different cards that I like how they work with. There's 2 new actions. I thought, ooh, how is that going to mess with the smoothness of the action economy of the game? Everything has a nice way of feeding into the other actions, and yet you want to specialize in a single thing. This expansion still allows the game to do that. And I was very impressed with it. Having 2 extra actions didn't mess up the flow of things. You could lean into them, and you could lean into them pretty hard and do very well with it, or you can just kind of dabble in it when the opportunity presents itself. Having new cards that you can put workers onto to activate them, that's nice. But then the workers that you put on those cards in the middle, they might get purchased, and you've just given a free worker to another player. You see little things where, I think as they were developing the future series of games, like the Wayfarers of the South Tigris, you see little aspects and elements of that in here without it feeling too familiar. I really like that. There's a 4th tracker to move up, and you can still balance the 4 different types of tracks very well. There are new paladins you add in, and you introduce a tough new mechanism where at the start of each round you have 4 paladins in hand. You choose one of them for the tracks and for the workers and for the power. You play one. You put one on top of your deck. You put one on the bottom of the deck, and you remove the 4th one from the game. That's a slight new little change compared to how it plays in the base game. That feeling of having to get rid of one from the game is sometimes gut-wrenching. And that's a good type of difficult decision to have to make in a game like this because Paladins gives you so much. So having an expansion that asks a little bit more of you, I feel like is worth it. Now, is this a must-buy expansion? I don't think so. I say that very cautiously because I also rate it very highly. I would rate this a 9. I think that this expansion, what it does is phenomenal. For me, a person who has played Paladins of the West Kingdom well over 10 times. Maybe that doesn't sound like a whole lot to some people, but for me, and in this job and in this position, a lot of my favorite games, I'm hoping to get them played 10 times in the time that I've played Paladins, and it doesn't always necessarily happen that way, but this is a game that I keep coming back to. I will throw the expansion in because I already know the flow of the basic game so well. This is one that if you're picking up Paladins for the first time, and you could buy this expansion, or maybe you buy the big box where it comes folded in, play the base game several times, fall in love with it, then add this in so that those extra wrinkles aren't as difficult to get into. It doesn't feel like yet another mechanism because you know the core system so well, but also because I do think that it's more rewarding when you know the ecosystem of the basic game really well. So that's my only little hesitation there, is if you're like a first-time player of Paladins, I would not throw this expansion in there necessarily. I would probably advise against it. I'm sure that there are plenty of people who have played it with it and said, this is great either way, but I think that you get more from it when you know the basic game. So still a 9 from me. I think that this expansion is wonderful and I really like it. And so here it is, even if it's a year late and $365 short.